factoring. Does anybody have a question, Riv?
What was the problem?
What was the problem?
I
It was n squared plus 5n plus 6. Wait, were you not here that day? There's somewhere back on my table, there's a sheet there. If there are no other questions, take out those same exact notes about trinomials, because we are factoring again. Actually, we are delving severely into it now. Remember those problems that you skipped? That's what we're going to talk about. Those and a few others. So let me write one on the board here. 4n squared plus 8a, or plus 8n plus 4. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I told you before, you did the simple basic trinomial factoring. Now we get into some that get a little bit more in depth. Okay, and the very, very first thing when you see a trinomial, the very first thing you want to look for is, can I factor out a common factor of all terms? Of all terms. That is what you need to ask yourself very, very first. Before you do any factoring at all, as a matter of fact, in any type of factoring, you should ask yourself this question. And by that, I simply mean this. If you look at 4n squared, 8n, and 4, is there some number that you could take out of all three of those terms before you even start? Like reverse distributive property, to which you would say, yes, Brenda Massey says I can take what out of all of them? A 4, which would mean this. If I take a 4 out, I am left with an n squared. 4 times 2 would give me the 8n, or 2n, and 4 times 1 gives me that. If I take a 4 out of all three of those terms, you end up with that. Then, ladies and gentlemen, then you look to see if you can factor your trinomial. Okay, can I break this down to 2 binomials? And don't forget, this 4, if it's out here, it's going to end up staying on the outside all the way through this process. You cannot lose it as a factor. It stays as a factor. So then you ask yourself, okay, what times what gives me 1 when added together gives me 2? Well, that's pretty simple because you don't have many options there. 1 times 1 is the only thing that'll give you 1. So bam, this would be that whole thing kind of factored down. Give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more, as the song says. What song that is, I don't know, but I'm sure there's one that says it. Oh no, tell me more, is that? Those summer nights, what is the whole, what is that? Okay, how about this one? 6x squared. 6x squared plus 36x minus 96. I wonder what I can take out of all three of those. Does somebody have a suggestion for me? Charlie says 6. So let's see what I'm left with. I take a 6 out. 6 times what is 6x squared? Well, I have my x squared. That's not bad. 6 times what is 36x? 6x. Don't forget about the letters. And then 6 times what is 96? Hopefully you can figure that out. It's 16. Take my word for it. If you have to do the division, by all means, you can do the division. And again, don't forget you need to leave this 6 on the outside. You know x times x is going to give you the x squared. However, ladies and gentlemen, what are going to be my factors that multiplied together give me minus 16, but added together give me positive 6? Ephraim?
Oh no, I have a question.
Oh, what's your question?
Do you have to do like the biggest sum? Because you could also take 3.
Yes. Always the biggest number. You always want to take out the biggest factor you could. Always, always, always. That's a good question. How about this? What times what gives me 16 when added together gives me 6? River says what?
Negative x times x plus 8.
Does 8 and 2 give me 16? Yes. When I subtract them, do I get positive 6? Absolutely. And it doesn't matter which one you call which, but you get plus 8 minus 2. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Wait, let's do another, because we have more, by the way. We've just begun to fight here. How about this one? 5x squared plus, by the way, can I tell you how much I love my new pen compared to that other thing?
What are you giving me like this?
I don't know. I'll be the guy that talks all the time.
Sounds like a cool. Not so long.
He's funny, but looks aren't everything. What can you take out of all three of these? I know it's going to be hard. You can see a common thing there. Brendan Massey is racking his brain trying to come up with some sort of factor there. Ephraim says, yes, congratulations. So I take my 5 out. Kevin's laughing about something. Probably his sister told him a good joke.
Then you won't share it. You just can't let him
Share the joke,
Wait,
Kevin.
are you still thinking about that whole hippopotamus thing? Because it wasn't that funny.
Share the joke, Kevin.
5 times x squared. What times 5 gives me 20x? I need a 4x. Minus 5 times 45 gives me that there. And then you have to say, ladies and gentlemen, 5 times what? 2 binomials. What times what gives me 45 when added together gives me a 4. You don't know your factors. Sid is thinking, what are you thinking, Sid? What times what gives me 45 when added together gives me 4? You don't have many choices. What's that? 5 and 9. I believe you are right, because there's 4 difference there. Which one is negative? Which one's going to be positive? Since you have a positive number here, that means the bigger factor has to be positive. So this would be x minus 5, x plus 9. All right, I think we've taken it to the streets there. Ready? Ready to be, just when you thought you understood this, here is where the proverbial wheels fall off the bus that goes round and round. Are you ready for this? Here we go, write down this problem. I'm finding a good one here. Oh, let's do this one. 3x squared minus 11x.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think you can see where this is going. Minus 4. Now, many of you will not get this because you're unwilling to think and put in the work that it's going to take for this. Okay? But we always follow this progression, Daniel. Number 1, do these have a common factor? They do not. Okay, I can't take a 3 out, which is really my factor that's possible. Okay? Now, the thing that's different about this one is we have not ever had a number in front of the x squared before. And that's going to cause us great consternation. I didn't say constipation, that's a whole different thing. Consternation and issues here, okay? Here is why. Again, going back to FOIL, which is kind of the basis of all this. Now, the nice thing about this one, while it is a more difficult one, it's not the most difficultest one because this first term, there's only one way to make it. Okay, I don't have any choices. The only factors of 3 are 3 and 1. So this has to be a 3x and this has to be an x. There's no other combinations that give you 3x. Had this been like a 6, then your world has just been blown because you could make a 6 and a 1 and a 3 and a 2 or a 2 and a 3. There's different combinations you can use. But this one's not so bad because it's only got 1. Now the thing to remember here, this is where people go crazy on this, because of FOIL, okay? Because these two terms are a combination, well, here, now let me explain it this way. Let's go back to what I said to do. When we did the other thing, the next thing you thought of were factors of 4, right? 4 and 1, 2 and 2. Only choices there, okay? But what you have to keep in mind is this. To get this minus 11 term, that comes from when you add the outside and the inside terms. Whatever number you put here gets multiplied by this 3x. In other words, if I were to put a 2 there and a 2 there, this is 6x and this is 2x. And those are the two things you have to try to get a combination of to get an 11. Okay? Which with 10x, with that 6x and 2x doesn't give me that. So I'm going to have to switch around and I'm going to try a different factor. You know, this is more trial and error than anything. What if I put a 1 here and a 4 there? Well, 3 and 1 gives me a 3x, and a 4 and an x gives me a 4x. Can I get 11 with 4 and 3's? I can't. But I haven't tried this last combination, which would be to put a 4 here and a 1 there. 3 times 4 is 12x, and 1 times x is 1x. Can I get an 11 with a 12 and a 1? I sure can. Now, which one has to be what? Well, I need a big negative number, so this has to be negative because that would give me the negative 12. This has to be a plus 1 because that would give me the plus 1. Negative 12, well, plus 1 is that. So this factored out is 3x plus 1 times x minus 4. So there's a lot of wheels going around in this, especially when you have this first number here. You just have to, there's just so many combinations, you kind of have to be organized. Think about where you need to end up and then end up where you're thinking about. Or think about ending up where you want to be ended up and then not to. You're saying, well, let's do another one. Oh, I got lots of them. Holy smokes. Well, let's write this one down. 7x squared. And again, that should make you smile because there's only one combination that gives you 7x squared. Minus 51x plus 14. And it also should make you smile because there's only one way to get 14. Well, there's two, but you don't have that many factors. But let me remind you, step number 1 should always be to do what? Look to see if they have a common factor. Does this? No. But eventually they will, and you have to train yourself to look for it because you'll get confused and say, why can't I figure this out? And you forgot to factor something out. Okay, so here we go. The nice thing is this. What is my only combination that gives me 7x squared? Charles? 7x and x. Okay. And then don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, whatever number you put over here is going to get multiplied by this 7, which is going to make it a pretty large number right away. But the good thing is I need a 51. So if you do a little thinking about this here, let's say I chose to put the 2 here. Well, let's say my factors of 14 are 1 and 14 and 2 and 7, and I'm going to go 2 and 7 right off the bat. If I put a 2 there and a 7 there, which gives me my 14, is there any way, this middle term gives me 7x and the outside term gives me 14x, is there any way with 7 and 14 to get 51? No, so something's not right. What would be my next suggestion? Can somebody see it? Switch the 2 and the 7. What if I put the 7 here? Ooh, that would give me 49, which is getting close, and a 2 there. Ooh, can I get negative 51 with the 7 and a 2? But then you're going to say, but this has to be positive and that's end up negative. Well, how does that happen? How can I do that? Does it even work? Where do I go? Yeah, they both have to be negative. Because 2 negatives give you the positive. These will both end up being a negative 49x and a negative 2x, which gives you the negative 51x. So you end up with this little bad boy. I can't change the level of this math. This is something you just get better at with time or trials. Let me look and see what we got here. Ooh, you want to go right for the jugular or no?
No.
No? All right, well, let's try this one. Oh, I do want to try a hard one. 36 m squared minus 44m minus 44m minus 56. First thing, Bella, I'm supposed to do is what? First thing, Anna. Who? 32. What am I doing with 36? First thing I have to do is, did I not? Wait. Let's go back and check the. Remember I said it didn't happen on the last one, but I'm going to give you one that it does. You need to look at all three of these. Well, first of all, they're all even, so I know they have a common factor of 2, but is there a bigger number that goes into them besides 2? River, Brody, Brendan? 4. Let's do 4 and see where we end up and see if there's something that. So if I do 4, I get 9m squared minus 11m minus, take my word for it, this is 14. And you want to look at these three and say if they have a common factor, this wasn't big enough, but I don't believe they do. So that is it. Okay. Now here's where Brody says, uh-oh. Why, Brody? Because this is the first time you actually have a choice for this first term. Because there's more than one way to make 9. You either have 9 and 1 or 3 and 3. Correct? Now, something to look at is this isn't really a big number, so I don't know if 9 and 1 would be your best option, because whatever number you put over here is going to get multiplied by 9, which makes it kind of big. So I probably, if I were doing this, I would start off with a 3 and a 3. It's only trial and error, kids. I cannot make it any more simple than that. But this might not be right. You may not be able to do it with 2 3s there. Maybe it is 9 and 1. I don't know. All right. I don't know. I don't even have the answers here. So then I have to think, what times what gives me 14? 7s and 2s, or 14s and 1s? This is gonna take a little bit of. So here's where just trial and error starts, kids. I'm just gonna start chucking numbers in here. All right. Let me put a 7 here and a 2 there. What are my numbers I get? Well, 3 and 7 gives me 21. 2 and 3 gives me 6. Can't I get an 11 with a 21 and a 6? No. So the next thing I'm going to try is I'm going to flip those 2 around and put the 2 here. Wait, is that what I had there? Yes. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, does it? Because I'm multiplying by 3 both times. So that isn't it. So then I have to try my 1 and my 14. What if I put a 1 here and a 14 there? Oh, that's horrendous, because I get what? That's 42 and a 3. Can I make 11 with a 42 and a 3? Uh-oh. Am I missing some other factors of 14? Somebody say, oh no.
Oh no.
Well, I might have to go back to the drawing board, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I said this, I don't know what the answer is, and this is how I would have to do it if I did it. I'm going to guess, quite honestly, maybe this has to be a 9M, and this has to be an M. Maybe that's my only option. So now what do I have to do? I have to go through the whole process again. Let's do a 7 and a 2. Well, I can kind of rule that out because 9 times 7 is 63, and 63 and 2, there's no way. So let's try this again. What if I put a 7 here and a 2 there? Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen, hold on a second here. 2 times 9 is 18, and 7M. Can I get an 11 with 18 and 7?
Yes.
I thought we were going to end up not doing it. Now, which one is which? Which one? Because this has to be negative. So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Kevin Wills. Where does the negative go? With the 7 or with the 2?
Wow, what a this, okay. Wait.
With the 7.
So if I put a negative here and a positive there, that gives me a positive 18 and a negative 7, which ends up giving me a positive 11, not a negative 11. So it has to be a positive 7 and a negative 2. Do you see the beauty of factoring trinomials, kids? It's like a giant puzzle. If you like to do puzzles, this is right up your proverbial alley. And there's no easy way to do it, River Kavari. No, none. This, I'm gonna get, well, wait, what time does this get over? Here, let me just give you this little work sheet. And I think you're supposed to do the even number, but I thought. Is it even? Maybe I look on the flash. Wait, nope, you don't have to, I got it on my thing. Okay. There is no easy way around this. It's all just simply trials and errors. And I wish I could make your life easier, but I can't, so it's just a pipe dream, whatever that means. What is a pipe dream? It is, I don't have it here. I will look and see. Wait, e-learners, what does it say? What to do? Odds, evens? The whole thing? CJ?
I'm looking right now.
It says evens.
Evens. It's evens. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. I'm gonna write it as big as I can. What color? Yeah. Do a couple and see what you can do. I'm interested to see just how good you are. It takes a little practice, children. Sometimes it takes a lot of practice. I'm stopping the share and I'm stopping the camera. Ready for the beat?